Have you ever seen a mother cry herself to sleep because life took everything from her? This is not just a story. It is a journey of pain, survival, and a love that refused to die. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you will touch your heart in ways you didn't expect. There was once a woman named Grace. Grace was not born into wealth, but she was born with a heart full of kindness and strength. She lived in a small town in Nigeria with her husband David and their 3 beautiful daughters, Anna, Bella, and Rose. Life was not perfect, but it was peaceful. David worked as a civil engineer, a man respected in the community, and Grace ran a small food shop where she sold rice and stew to workers who came by in the evenings. Every morning, David would sit at the small dining table and say, "Grace, one day our daughters will shine brighter than the stars. We must give them the best we can." Grace would smile and nod, "And they will remember us for it." The girls, still young, would laugh at their father's words, not understanding the weight of his dreams. But life, as it often does, changed. Suddenly, one rainy evening, David did not return home at his usual time. Grace paced the floor, looking out the window, waiting to hear the sound of his motorcycle. Hours passed, and then there was a knock at the door. It was his friend, Emmanuel, with tears in his eyes. "Grace, something happened on the highway. David was in an accident." Her heart dropped. She could not speak. She only shook her head, refusing to believe. She rushed to the hospital with Emmanuel, praying under her breath, begging God to keep her husband alive. But when she arrived, it was too late. David was gone. The world collapsed around her that night. She screamed, cried, and clung to his lifeless body, begging him to wake up. The children, too young to understand fully, cried because their mother was crying. From that night, everything in Grace's life changed. The days after the funeral were worse than the death itself. David's family, his brothers and his only sister, came together and turned against Grace. They accused her of killing her husband, saying she was cursed and had eaten his destiny. Grace could not believe her ears. She begged them to have mercy, but they had already made up their minds. The property David left behind, a small house, his land, and even his savings, were all taken by his brothers. They said the tradition allowed them to inherit everything since David had no sons. Grace was left with nothing, only her daughters. One night, when everyone had gone, she sat with Anna, Bella, and Rose, who were all crying. She wiped their tears and said, "Don't be afraid, my children. Your father may be gone, and they may have taken everything from us, but they cannot take our love. As long as I live, I will fight for you. We will survive, and one day you will make it in life and take care of me." Anna, the oldest at just 12, held her mother's hand. "Mama, we promise. We will never leave you. We will study hard. We will help you. We will make it." Bella and Rose nodded through their tears. From that night, a new chapter of suffering and determination began. Grace, who once had a small shop, now had nothing. To feed her daughters, she started frying akara, bean cakes, by the roadside. Every morning she would wake before dawn, grind beans, light her small charcoal stove, and begin frying. The smell of hot oil and beans filled the air as she worked, tirelessly, calling out to passers-by, "Hot akara, buy your akara here." Her daughters helped her. Anna would pack the akara into small nylon bags for customers. Bella would wash plates, and little Rose, though still very young, would call, "Out, come and buy, come and buy." Life was hard, but they had each other. Some days Grace would go out to clean houses for wealthy families. She would scrub floors, wash clothes, and sometimes return home so tired that her hands shook. The girls saw her pain, but instead of complaining, they encouraged her. "Mama, don't worry," Anna would say. "One day we will be great. We will take you abroad, and you will never suffer again." Their words gave Grace strength. She looked at her daughters and thought, "They are all I have. I will give everything for them, but poverty is a cruel master." Some nights, there was no food to eat. Grace would pretend she had eaten earlier and give the little food to her daughters. She would lie on her mat, her stomach empty, whispering to herself, "God, please keep them alive. Please don't let my children suffer like this forever." Despite the hardship, the daughters were brilliant in school. Teachers often marveled at how well they did, even though they could barely afford books. Anna dreamed of becoming a doctor. Bella wanted to be a lawyer. And Rose, the youngest, said she would one day be a singer, known all over the world. Grace encouraged them. "My daughters, education will open doors for you. Don't let poverty stop you. Don't let what your father's people did to us define your future." Years passed in this struggle. Grace aged faster than her years, but she never gave up. Her hands were rough from hard work, her back bent from carrying loads, but her spirit refused to break. And through it all, her daughters kept their promise. They studied hard, encouraged each other, and carried their mother's words in their hearts. The day finally came when Anna received a scholarship to study nursing in America. The whole family rejoiced. Grace danced in the little compound, tears rolling down her face. "My daughter, God has remembered us. You will go abroad, and you will shine." Soon after, Bella also received an opportunity to study law abroad, and Rose followed a few years later with her music dreams. Grace was proud. Her daughters were leaving for better opportunities. She hugged them tightly at the airport, whispering, "Remember me, my children. Never forget the mother who carried you." They promised again, "Mama, we will never forget you." Grace stood at the airport, waving as they disappeared through the gates, her heart full of hope. She believed her suffering was finally coming to an end. She believed her daughters would make it and come back for her. But life was about to take another cruel turn. Because once they reached America, something strange began to happen. Slowly, they started to forget. At first, they called their mother once in a while. But then, the calls became fewer and fewer until they stopped completely. Grace waited by her phone every night, staring at the screen, hoping to hear her daughters' voices, but the silence grew louder. She told herself, "Maybe they are busy with school. Maybe tomorrow they will call." But tomorrow never came. Worse still, when neighbors asked the daughters about their mother, they would say, "She is no more. Our mother is dead." Yes, they truly believed she was dead. And Grace, still alive in Nigeria, frying akara on the roadside, cleaning houses and fighting depression, could not understand why her daughters had abandoned her. She would sit on her mat at night, whispering, "Did I not suffer enough? Did I not give them everything? God, why have they forgotten me?" The promise her daughters made to her was fading like smoke in the wind. And yet, Grace still believed that one day, somehow, her children would remember her. Do you know what it feels like to be alive, but the people you love most in this world speak of you as if you are already dead? That is the kind of pain that no words can fully describe. When Grace's daughters left Nigeria, she felt joy mixed with sadness. Joy because her suffering was about to end. Sadness because the house would now be quiet without their laughter. She believed in her heart that they would send for her soon, that she would one day sit in America surrounded by her children, eating at a big table, smiling and saying, "God has finally answered my prayers." At first things looked promising. Anna, the eldest, called often. "Mama, I am fine. School is hard, but I will make it. Don't worry about me." Grace would sit on the edge of her bed, holding the phone close to her ear, her eyes shining with pride. Bella too called once, in a while, telling her about classes and new friends. Rose, the youngest, sent messages about music and the new world she was seeing. Grace treasured those moments, She would replay their voices in her head, smile to herself, and whisper, "Yes, my children remember me." But little by little, the calls stopped. The messages became less. Soon days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months with no word from them. Grace would hold her small phone in her hands at night, waiting, staring at the screen until she fell asleep. "Maybe they are busy," she told herself. "They are working hard. One day they will call." But something strange was happening on the other side of the ocean. In America, the three sisters were thriving. Anna was now working in a hospital as a nurse. Bella was in law school, and Rose had joined a small music group that performed at events. They had friends, money, and opportunities. Life was better than they had ever dreamed. But their memories of their mother were slowly fading, like writing washed away by the rain. At first it was small things. They would try to remember her favorite food, and could not. They would search their minds for the sound of her laughter, and hear nothing. One day at a gathering, a friend asked, "What about your mother? Where is she?" Anna looked at Bella. Bella looked at Rose. And then, without even thinking, they answered, "She is dead." The words rolled off their tongues easily, as if they had always believed it. The friend frowned. "Oh, I am sorry. How did she die?" Again they exchanged glances, and the strange thing was this: they could not recall. They only knew in their hearts, with a false certainty, that their mother was gone. From that day, whenever anyone asked about Grace, the three daughters would say the same thing: "Our mother is no more. We are orphans." It became their truth. But the real truth was that Grace was still alive. Alive, but suffering. In Nigeria, Grace's life grew darker each day. She still fried akara by the roadside, her hands rough with burns from hot oil. She still cleaned houses for the rich, bending her back until it ached. But the worst pain was not hunger or exhaustion. It was the loneliness. Everywhere she went, people asked, "Mama Anna, how are your daughters in America?" She would smile faintly and say, "They are fine." But when she returned home, the smile faded. She would sit in her empty room, look at the corner where their old school bags still lay, and cry until her chest hurt. Sometimes she whispered to herself, "Did I give birth to daughters, or did I dream it? How can they forget me? How can they live as if I never existed?" Neighbors pitied her. Some said, "Maybe they will come back one day." Others mocked her. "See her, she suffered for her children and they abandoned her. What a waste!" But Grace refused to curse them. She only prayed, "God, wherever they are, keep them safe. Let them remember me." Her health began to fail. She lost weight, her cheeks sank, and her once bright eyes grew dull. Depression wrapped around her like a heavy cloak. Many nights she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if death would come for her too. Meanwhile, in America, the sisters were building a new life. They moved into better apartments, bought new clothes, and traveled during holidays. They had friends who became like family, and strangely, their father's sister, the very one who had helped steal Grace's inheritance, became the center of their love. Yes, they sent her money every month. They called her. They showered her with gifts. To them, she was the woman who had raised them, cared for them, and given them everything. They saw her as a saint. But Grace, the true mother, was forgotten. It was not ordinary. Years passed this way. Grace grew weaker, her heart heavy with sorrow. She would sometimes wander to the roadside where children played and watch them, remembering when her own daughters were small. "Anna used to chase Bella here," she whispered. "Rose used to sing here." She would smile for a moment, then the smile would vanish as tears ran down her face. Her neighbors noticed her sadness. Some tried to comfort her. "Mama, don't worry. Maybe one day God will touch their hearts. But Grace would only shake her head. How can children forget their mother so completely? Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. And indeed, something was wrong, because in the United States, the daughters' minds were like locked rooms. Every memory of their mother was sealed shut, as if erased by invisible hands. When they tried to picture her, all they saw was darkness. Anna once sat on her bed, staring at an old photo. It was blurry, but she knew it was from Nigeria. "Who is this?" she whispered to herself. She should have known it was her mother, but the image slipped away from her mind like water through fingers. Bella once dreamed of a woman crying, her face hidden, her voice calling out, "My children, don't forget me." She woke up trembling, but within minutes, the dream faded, and she could not recall what had frightened her. Rose sometimes felt an emptiness, as if something important was missing from her life. But when she asked her sisters, "Do you ever feel like someone is waiting for us back home?" they laughed and said, "No, Rose, we are all we have. Mama is gone." So the lie continued. Grace in Nigeria was alive but broken, while her daughters abroad believed she was dead, and the woman who caused it all, their father's sister, was smiling in the shadows, receiving the love and money meant for Grace. She had used charms, dark powers to blind the daughters' minds and make them forget their mother. But no, evil lasts forever. One day a small spark was lit, a birthday party, a prayer, a prophet. That was the day everything began to change. Have you ever been in a room where everything looks normal, people laughing, eating, celebrating, yet in one moment, the truth drops like thunder and changes everything? That is what happened on the day of Rose's birthday. Rose had always been the lively one among the sisters. She loved music, dancing, and laughter. By this time, she was doing well in America, working with a music group and even planning her own album. She wanted her birthday to be memorable. She invited friends, colleagues, and even some church members. The apartment was decorated with balloons and ribbons, the table filled with food, drinks, and a large cake with her name written in icing. Anna and Bella helped with the preparations. The sisters laughed as they moved around, and for a moment, life seemed perfect. But hidden in that joy was a darkness none of them could see coming. Among the invited guests was a young man named Samuel. Samuel was different. He was not just a friend, he was also a prophet in training. He had the gift of visions and often spoke when the Spirit moved him. Rose had met him in church, and because she admired his faith, she invited him to lead a 1-hour prayer during her birthday. When it was time, the music was turned down, and everyone gathered in the living room. Samuel stood in the middle, his Bible in his hand. "Let us thank God for life," he said, "and let us pray for many more years." They all bowed their heads. Samuel began to pray, his voice strong and full of passion. The sisters closed, their eyes, lifting their hands, whispering amen after each prayer. But suddenly Samuel stopped. His voice grew quiet. He looked at Rose, then Anna, then Bella. Something heavy came over him. He spoke softly. "Where is your mother?" The sisters opened their eyes, surprised. Anna answered quickly, "Our mother is no more. She died years ago." Samuel frowned. "She died?" "Yes," Bella added. "We are orphans. Our father died first, then our mother. We grew up alone." But Samuel shook his head. "No, I see a woman. She is alive. She is suffering. Why do you say she is dead?" The room grew silent. Some guests exchanged uneasy glances. Rose tried to laugh it off. "Prophet, maybe you are mistaken. Our mother is gone. We don't have a mother." But Samuel's eyes did not move. He spoke again, this time with authority. No, your mother lives. She is in Nigeria. She's weeping even now. She is alive, but forgotten." The sisters stared at him confused. Something inside them stirred, but it was as if a thick fog covered their minds. Samuel continued, "Your memories are locked. This is not ordinary. There is a hand of witchcraft here. Someone close to you, someone who should protect you, has used evil powers to turn your eyes away from your mother." Anna shook her head. "No, that can't be. We would remember her if she was alive." Samuel looked straight at her. "Do you send money to a woman back home? Do you call her? Do you love her as if she is your mother?" Anna blinked. Bella gasped. Rose lowered her head. Yes. They had been sending money, gifts, and love to their father's sister all these years. Samuel raised his hand. "That woman is not your mother. She is the one who stole your inheritance. She is the one who tied your mind so you cannot see your true mother. She made you believe your mother is dead so that all your love would be given to her. She is feeding on your blessing while your real mother suffers." The sisters froze. Their hearts pounded. Memories, faint and broken, flickered in their minds. An old smile, the sound of a voice, the warmth of an embrace. But then, like smoke, the images vanished again. Rose whispered, "But if Mama is alive, where is she? Why can't we remember her clearly?" Samuel's voice softened. "Because a charm has blinded you, but God is merciful. Today He has revealed the truth. It is up to you to seek her, to confirm with your own eyes, and to break this curse." Tears filled Bella's eyes. "Are you saying we abandoned our own mother? That she is suffering while we live here as if she never existed?" Samuel nodded. "Yes. And the pain she carries is heavy. But if you go to her, she will forgive you. She has never stopped praying for you." The room was silent. The guests looked at the sisters with pity. Some shook their heads, whispering. Rose collapsed onto the sofa, covering her face with her hands. Anna stood frozen, her mind spinning. Bella began to cry openly. For the first time in years, they felt a crack in the wall around their memories. A flash of their mother's face came to them. Her smile, her voice calling their names, her hands frying akara by the roadside. They gasped. Samuel knelt beside them. "Your mother is alive. Go and find her. Do not waste time. Go and make things right before it is too late." The sisters wept. Anna said, "If this is true, then we have been living a lie." Samuel placed his hand on her shoulder. "Yes, but now you have a chance to make it right. Do not delay." From that day, their hearts were unsettled. They could no longer sleep peacefully. At work, they thought of the revelation. At night, they dreamed of a crying woman calling out to them. The fog in their minds began to lift, piece by piece, and the truth started to shine through. They began to talk about it. "What if Mama is really alive?" Bella asked one evening. "What if she has been suffering all this while?" Rose said, "I keep remembering small things, like how she used to hold me when I was little. I think Prophet Samuel is right. We have been deceived." Anna, though the eldest, felt the deepest shame. How could we forget her? How could we call another woman mother while our real mother is alive? We must go back. We must find her. But traveling back to Nigeria was not easy. They needed time, money, and courage. And something in them still fought against the memories, like a shadow refusing to leave. 3 months passed before they finally made arrangements. They booked their tickets. They packed their bags. They told no one except Samuel, who prayed for them and said, "Go, and may God open your eyes fully." As the plane lifted off the runway, their hearts were heavy. They did not know what awaited them in Nigeria, but they knew one thing. They had to find the truth. And somewhere in a small room in Nigeria, Grace sat alone on her mat, staring at the ceiling, whispering, "God, if my children still live, let them remember me before I die." Her prayer was about to be answered. Have you ever seen a miracle happen right before your eyes? A moment so powerful that it breaks chains, heals wounds, and restores what was lost? That is what happened when Grace and her daughters finally met again. The journey back to Nigeria was long and heavy with silence. Anna stared out of the airplane window, lost in thought. Bella clasped her hands together, whispering prayers under her breath. Rose kept her headphones on, but no music was playing. Her mind was too full. Each of them carried guilt, shame, and fear. What if she refuses to forgive us? Bella whispered. She is our mother, Anna said softly. She will forgive. A mother's heart is deep. When the plane landed in Lagos, the heat and noise of Nigeria hit them immediately. It was like stepping into another world after years away. They took a bus down to their hometown, each mile bringing them closer to the truth. Their hearts pounded with every passing landmark. At last they reached the small neighborhood where they had once lived with their parents. Memories they thought were gone came flooding back. Memories of running down the dusty road, chasing each other, laughing. They walked slowly, trembling, until they stood before the small, crumbling house. The gate was rusted, the walls were cracked. The air smelled of damp earth and smoke. They could hear the faint sound of coughing from inside. Anna raised her hand and knocked. There was no answer. She knocked again, her heart beating so fast she thought it might burst. Finally, the door creaked open, and there she was. Grace. But she was not the Grace they remembered. She was thin, almost fragile, her clothes worn and faded. Her face carried deep lines of sorrow, her hair streaked with gray. Her eyes, once bright, looked tired and empty. She stared at them confused, as if she was seeing strangers. "Good afternoon," she said softly, her voice weak. Anna could not hold it anymore. She fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Mama, Mama, it's us! Anna, Bella, Rose, your daughters!" Grace blinked, stunned. Her hands shook. She looked again, and slowly recognition dawned. Her lips trembled. "My children? My children?" Bella rushed forward, grabbing her hands. "Mama, it's us. Forgive us. We were blind. We forgot. But we are here now." Rose wrapped her arms around her waist, sobbing. "Mama, I missed you. I missed you so much." Grace's knees buckled and she sank to the floor with them, crying like a child. The sound filled the small room, years of pain pouring out in one moment. She touched their faces, their hair, as if making sure they were real. "You came back to me. After all these years, you came back." Neighbors peeked in, shocked at the sight. Some began to weep too. "Her children have returned. God has done it," they said. Inside, the four of them clung together, their tears mixing, their hearts beating as one again. The curse was broken. The fog in the daughters' minds lifted completely. Memories rushed back. Her laughter, her sacrifices, her love. They remembered everything, and the weight of their guilt crushed them. "Mama, we are sorry," Anna whispered. "We should have been here. We should have remembered. Please, forgive us." Grace kissed her forehead. "There's nothing to forgive. You are my children. I have prayed every night for this day. God has answered me." For hours they sat together, holding hands, talking, crying, sharing stories. The daughters told her everything the prophet revealed, everything they had experienced in America, and how they had been tricked into believing she was dead. Grace listened, shaking her head in disbelief. "So it was my husband's sister," she said bitterly. "She hated me from the beginning. She took everything from me, and now she stole even my children's love. But God is faithful. Evil does not last forever." The daughters promised her, "From today, you will never suffer again. You will live like a queen." And they kept their word. They immediately took her to a hospital where doctors treated her malnutrition and depression. Slowly, Grace regained her strength. Her cheeks filled out, her eyes grew brighter, her laughter returned. For the first time in years, she felt alive again. Weeks later, they processed her visa. It was not easy, but the sisters worked together, determined to give her the life she deserved. When the day came for her to board the plane, Grace wept tears of joy. "I never thought I would leave this place," she said, "but God has lifted me up." Back in America, her life transformed completely. No more frying akara on the roadside. No more scrubbing floors until her back ached. She now lived in a beautiful apartment with her daughters. They bought her new clothes, cooked her favorite meals, and showered her with love. Every morning she sat at the dining table sipping tea, watching her daughters go to work and whispering, "Thank you, Lord. You turned my morning into dancing." She became like a queen, just as her daughters promised. They took her shopping, to restaurants, to church. She laughed again, danced again, lived again. And every night, she prayed with her daughters, thanking God for restoration. But back in Nigeria, the story was different. The aunt who had caused all the pain began to lose her mind. At first it was small. She would forget names, wander into the street, mutter to herself. People thought it was old age, but soon it grew worse. She screamed in the night, clawed at her hair, and shouted Grace's name as if tormented. "It is the charm," the villagers whispered. "It has backfired." She ran mad, roaming the streets barefoot, dirty, talking to herself. The same people who once respected her now pitied and mocked her. "See what happens when you fight a mother's love," they said. Justice had come, not by human hands, but by the power of God. And Grace, far away in America, lived in peace. She forgave her sister-in-law in her heart, not because she deserved it, but because she wanted to live free from bitterness. Her focus was now on her daughters, her future, and the joy that had finally returned to her life. Years later, Anna became a senior nurse, Bella a successful lawyer, and Rose a famous singer. Together they fulfilled the promise they made long ago. They gave their mother the best of everything. And Grace, now strong and joyful, would often sit with them and say, "Look at what God has done. From nothing to everything, from sorrow to joy." And that is how the story of pain turned into a story of restoration. Because no matter how strong evil seems, love and truth always win.